during those years, I was still talking about hospital and at the reception. But during those years too, when we were at the reception, please, what I might say from now onwards might offend certain people. Because during those years in South Africa, we were divided into different racial groups. There were blacks, there were coloreds, there were Indians, and there were Europeans. Or in short, there were whites and there were non-whites during those years in South Africa. But during those years when we came to Robben Island, coloreds and Indians were issued with shoes, long pant and the safari. Black political prisoners during those years were issued with a short pant, a safari and no shoes, because that was policy that black prisoners not be issued with shoes. But those coloreds and Indians protested by taking their shoes off, cutting their long pants, and they were charged and they were given extra prison sentences for damaging state property. It took years. It took years of intervention and hunger strikes, but ultimately black political prisoners too were then issued with shoes and long pants. This building that you sit in, the stones that you saw out there, this prison was built by prisoners and not contractors. The walls that you see around here was built by prisoners and not contractors. Those with no shoes and those with short pants, they were the ones that toiled up at the stone and the lime quarry. They chopped the stones, they brought those stones here, and they built this prison. They mixed the lime with the cement and the seashells at the lime quarry, and they brought those bricks here, and they built this prison until it was completed in 1965, I repeat, the 18th of August. But then again, during those years, we were also issued with bedding. Those beds that you see at the back there, those beds were introduced to Robben Island when I was left with about 2.5 years of my prison sentence. Prior to that, from 1963 onwards, all political prisoners, including those who came in 1976, were issued with a felt mat and a sisal mat. And at first it was 3 blankets, but again, there were hunger strikes and protests and intervention by the Red Cross and Suzman. Ultimately, the blankets were increased to 7, and 4 you could use on top, and 3 to cover yourself with. Come winter, come summer, this place is cold when it is cold, and when it is hot on Robben Island. But again, the common diseases during those years on Robben Island was TB, asthma, bronchitis, the kidneys, diabetes, hypertension, and cholesterol. Those were the diseases that prisoners suffered from during those years. And also food was an issue of divide during those years. In the morning, coloreds and Indians will receive porridge with sugar, coffee, sugar. Black political prisoners received porridge, no sugar, coffee, no sugar. Lunch will be white maize for colored and Indian prisoners only. Black political prisoners received yellow maize, those maize that you buy for your chickens, for your pigeons, that was their lunch. But again, there were hunger strikes and there were protests and there were interventions by the International Red Cross Committee during those years. And ultimately the food improved, but still coloreds and Indians received more food. Black political prisoners received food just to sustain them or to keep them alive during those years. And only from 1978-79 onwards did the scales balance out. Behind you, that lady on the table, that is where the diet chart is of those years. And then I hope you look around. In these cells, prisoners could talk. In these cells, prisoners could discuss. They could share problems. In these cells, the lights were switched off at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock. In these cells, prisoners had access to showers. Prisoners had access to a toilet that could flush. Down there in B section and in A section, those prisoners did not have access to those facilities, especially a shower and a toilet that could flush. Down there, we made use of a red bucket. And let me also remind you that that red bucket was used by all prisoners down there. In here, at night when I have a need, I can go to the toilet flush. Down there, they could not. Down there, every day they would give us half an hour of exercise in the morning, half an hour of exercise in the morning. Down there, they could only communicate with one another when they had half an hour of exercise in the morning, half an hour of exercise in the afternoon. And down there, the lights were kept on 24 hours a day. And even though the water was salty during those years and the drinking water brackish, still prisoners, when they came from the working groups, would go in there and shower. Down there, prisoners had access to a sink or a basin during those years. And that red bucket will only be cleaned once a day. It stood there 24 hours. You had your breakfast, you had your lunch, you had your supper, and that bucket will be standing there. In the cells that you sit today, in this cell, we used to sleep between 60 and 80 prisoners during those years. And the youngest group of prisoners during those years were 13, 15, and 18. Yes? And yes. Sure. 13, 15, and 18 years. In my group, I was 20 and a half years. In the youngest prisoner in my group was 15 years old. And they were charged for trying to overthrow the state. If we so happen to meet, there is one prisoner who was 13 then, doing tours here currently on Robben Island. He's a big, huge man. He was 13 when he came to Robben Island. And then, also during those years, in these cells, every day, 4 o'clock or right around Robben Island, 4 o'clock will be your wake-up time. Every day they played What a Beautiful Morning, What a Beautiful Day. And on the 30th of May, 1987, when I walked through the gates down there, on my release, I listened to it for the last time. And when I got outside, I looked up into the sky, and it was a sunny day, and I said, thank you, God. What a beautiful day, what a beautiful morning. But 11 and a half years of conditioning. Every day, we cannot sleep later than 4 o'clock in the morning. And ever since I got married in 1995, 96 was good, 97 was good, 98 the problem started. And up till this very day, every morning there is a fight. And my wife will be shouting at me, can't you fucking sleep later than 4 o'clock? That is every day. And that is the bad thing that we inherited here on Robben Island during those years. But then again, those names that you see on the board there, those prisoners died on Robben Island during those years because some of them were given wrong medical prescriptions during those years, leading to them dying on Robben Island. But up till this very day, some of those families are still phoning, wanting to know what happened to their loved ones. For them, they don't have closure as yet. And the pauper funeral during those years meant that 4 prisoners will be dumped into one unknown and one unnamed grave. Because last year and 3 years back, we made some exhumations in Stipland and Maitland cemeteries. And that is when it was confirmed that 4 political prisoners were dumped 4 into a grave. And 3 years back, we also discovered that some of us were buried here on Robben Island. But most of those families, up till now, they don't have closure here. And as a human being, if you know where the graveside of your loved ones are, every year you go there, put a bunch of flower, even if he or she was cremated, then you say a little prayer. In Africa, it is a belief that when a person or when you experience problems at your home, you go to the graveside of your elders and then you talk to the dead. You perform a ritual, you talk to the dead. And those problems that you face gradually start disappearing. And that is a belief in Africa. And then again, this section is unique because this section also housed Namibian prisoners were kept in this section before South African prisoners were came to occupy this specific section During those years, the Namibians or the then Southern Africans were also arrested because South Africa occupied Namibia for quite a number of years. And when they were released from Robben Island, it's only then that South African political prisoners came to occupy this particular section. It shares both South African and Namibian history. And the names on the Namibian side there, their families too still don't know what happened to the remains of their loved ones. And you must remember, Nelson Mandela came here in 1964. Nelson Mandela has spent 27 years behind bars. 27, 18 of them on Robben Island. His prison number 46664. But for 18 years, Nelson Mandela also slept on these mats. And when he was transferred in 1982 to Pollsmoor prison, it was the first time Nelson Mandela was privileged to sleep on a bed. And when he was transferred from Robben Island, Nelson Mandela was already a sick man when he was transferred from Robben Island prison. And as I said, during those years, we drew our inspiration, our hope, and our courage from men like Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Kwabena Mbeki, Tshafta Masekela. They guided us through those years. And in 1982, when they transferred him from Robben Island to Pollsmoor, my father was taken away from his children because the vacuum that remained behind on Robben Island could not be filled by those who remained behind on Robben Island. And in 1984, 86, 84, 85, 86, they started having discussions. And in 1988, they transferred him to Victor Verster, now called Drakensberg Prison in Paarl. And the discussions continued, and certain agreements were reached there. And one of the agreements that were reached at Victor Verster was that all political prisoners be released. All political prisoners were released in 1991. And from 1991 onwards, criminal prisoners came to occupy this prison briefly up till 1995, because then prisons outside were overcrowded. And in 95 June onwards, they transferred all those prisons back to the mainland. And in 1996, this prison was completely closed. And in 1997, this prison was declared a museum. And on the 11th of February, 1990, Nelson Mandela was released. But one of the preconditions also that was agreed upon, that all those who tortured us, all those who wronged us, be granted immunity. They could not be prosecuted, not at all, they could not be touched. But yet, Nelson Mandela has spent 27 years behind bars. But on the 11th of February, Nelson Mandela said to the world, I had forgiven them. That man was prepared to forgive those who wronged him. Yes, they were forgiven, but not forgotten. Because if we forget, it means that we will never be able to rectify the mistakes that were made in the past. But it is 26 years down the line, still there is a question that needs an answer, whether that hand that was extended on the 11th of February, that hand of forgiveness, has that hand of forgiveness been accepted? 26 years down the line. And on the 24th of April 1994, after the election, Nelson Mandela also said to the world, I want to reconcile, I want to build a new nation. It is 22 years, almost down the line. We are still trying to build that nation that Nelson Mandela envisaged for this country. It is 22 years almost down the line. That baby that was born on the 27th of April 1994 has not taken one single step. That baby is still crawling. And here, I must say thank you to the international community, because in your countries, your governments, those individuals in your countries made sacrifices during those years. And I must also say thank you to those South African families, because during those years, those young men refused to go for military training. they rather prefer to go into exile or to serve term in prison. Some of them came back today. They are trying to help us build that nation that Nelson Mandela envisaged for this country. But if it was not for your support, we will not be where we are today. I must say we appreciate your support. We appreciate your sacrifices made. But then you must also know that baby that was born on the 27th of April 1994, I hope Nelson Mandela won't be able to see it. Governor Mbeki Justice Tamasimula won't be able to witness that day. But I hope that in my lifetime still, I will, or we will be able to witness that baby that was born on the 27th of April 1994 give its first step, saying to the world, I am here, I arrive. And up at the place, the lime quarry, the lime quarry, where you will be going to, in that place you'll find a heap of stones there. Those stones represent all the atrocities that took place on Robben Island during those years. It also represents the blood that was shed by those who wanted to bring about change. And it also represents, most importantly, what one person said: I had forgiven them. Nelson Mandela on the 11th of February, up there at Victor Verster in Palm. But up at the Lime Quarry too, on the 11th of February 1995, Nelson Mandela again said to the world, never, never again in the history of this country will another person be prosecuted or persecuted. And also up there at the Lime Quarry, Nelson Mandela said to us, comrades, a happy person tells a story. A sad person never tells a story. And then also, we questioned the decisions they made as a collective during those years. He came and explained to us. And before he left on that day,